The road we're on is paved in Garth.
Come along on the journey
as we explore
Garthology.
Think of it more as a conversation. I like that. So if this is truly a conversation, then I say let the conversation begin. Showtime!
Hey everyone, it's Deb.
And I'm Pete.
Welcome back to another episode of Garthology, where we discuss all things Garth Brooks and the people around him. Unfortunately, Jess couldn't join us today, but Pete and I have got the reins, and we will lead you in the right direction. So today's episode is one I'm excited about, but also a little bit sad to record. So Pete and I were together this past weekend, and at one point, we just stopped and looked at each other, and we were like, dang, I miss Garth in Vegas. I think that residency became such a rhythm in our lives. Like we just knew it was happening. Obviously, we were not at every show, but we just knew it was there. We knew it was going on. We were seeing the posts online about what people saw that week and what songs he did, and everybody was just checking in, like saying, hey, Garth did this, the band did this. We were checking on fan reactions to see if there was anything we needed to talk about. And it was just the idea of knowing that Garth was there just 3.5 short hours away, doing what only he can do. We got used to it. It was just a part of our lives. And now here we are, and it's like we're missing a limb. So we decided to record an episode to kind of reminisce about the Garth Brooks Vegas residency at Caesars Palace, and specifically about March 9th, 2025. That was the final curtain call on an almost 2-year-long journey, and Pete and I were lucky enough to be there. So let's look back at not only the last show, but at the run itself. Garth Brooks' residency at the Colosseum at Caesars Palace, titled Garth Brooks Plus One, lasted from May 18th, 2023 to March 9th, 2025. The residency included a total of 72 shows, according to MusicRow.com. To commemorate his Las Vegas residency, he also released the 777 Jackpot box set in 2024. Each of the residency shows were like a mix of him performing solo, as well as him performing with the band. And of course, Trisha came out whenever she was in town and did songs with him too. No two shows were the same, and every show included a housekeeping section of fan song requests. Those were the really special parts of the show, where fans got the chance to request any song by meeting up with Garth's staff before the show, and they would write down what they wanted to hear and why. So you got some really emotional stories, some really personal stories, just at the shows we were at. It really touched me, the things that people were requesting and why. And so many times, the songs weren't even Garth songs. During the show, Garth would pick some of those requests to play, and in doing so, he would search for the requester in the audience and then interact with them one-on-one. And if you've listened to our Season 6, Episode 2 earlier this year, you already know that I was one of the lucky ones who had a song request picked, and I got to interact with Garth personally. I'm telling you, it was amazing and not like anything I've ever experienced Garth-related before. So, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, definitely go back and check it out.
Yeah, that must have been really, really cool because, as many as these that I was fortunate enough to go to with you and other shows, we always did a request, but we never got one between the two of us that was picked. I remember like it was yesterday when you had and you were at that show there where you had requested Learning to Live Again, and you had that one-on-one interaction. It was just so amazing and emotional about how happy you were to have had that time with him. And to be there, to be able to have watched that would have been amazing. Just being a fly on the wall. Like, we've gotten some really cool interactions with Garth one-on-one between you and I and him. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But something like that, where a one-to-one conversation, holy moly, I couldn't imagine what you were going through there.
Dude, it killed me that you weren't there.
Man, that's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And then it's like, you always want to be like, hey, Garth, remember that one time we had that conversation? Like, let's continue this thing on. It's just not that easy. And, another thing, you were making a couple notes about the residency and, 72 shows, not one of them were canceled.
Nope.
He always showed up. He always did what he had to. And, one thing I wish I would have done, and I'm sure that we could do it in a future episode or, kind of put something out on our social. I wonder how many total tickets were sold to that show, because that's a big accomplishment for Garth. And I know that they make a big deal about these tickets these shows that Garth does and the amount of shows that he does and the total ticket sales. 2 years, 72 shows in a small venue. It's still got to be a big number because there wasn't a seat open.
Yeah.
Anyone that we went to, I never, ever saw a seat open, ever. And just something super special. But I definitely recommend everybody go back and listen to season 6, episode 2, where you got to talk about that one-on-one with you and Garth, because then they'll know exactly how you feel. Because anybody that listens, if they haven't had that opportunity, I'm sure a lot of them would give a left finger if they could.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And as far as that final show, that show was something else. Like, it was beyond all the others. I think I'd have to go back and look, but I think I attended 7 of the residency shows, 7 or 8. But that final one, emotionally, vocally, Garth was on fire. Like, everything was perfect. And you could tell that he kind of felt the weight of it being the last one, if that makes sense. Because even from the very beginning, he didn't just walk on the stage. He soaked it in. There was this hush that fell over the room when the lights went out, and then everybody just lost it. And you could tell that we all felt that we were going to witness something really special. And for Pete and I, it was during that very first song that the most amazing thing happened.
Yeah. And, for it to happen to both of us, for you and I to be there, we could talk about the July 8th show in 2024 when me, you, and Jess went, and we had that interaction. And that, to me, leading up to this show, was the most amazing thing. Garth and I fist bumped. It was finally something that, had happened, because there were so many possibilities for it to happen leading up to that it finally did happen in July. But and we got the rolling kisses for you and Jess and the bow and all of that, and that was all well and good. But then it's crazy to me, because you talk about you were able to go to the 7 or 8 shows, and you never had a bad ticket.
No, never.
And there was always an opportunity for what was about to happen. And it didn't until this last show. And
until the very last one.
Unbelievably happy that it happened for you at that show, but for you and I to be together. So,
yes.
So we're sitting there, and we're worried. This sounds, I don't want to come off sounding like a jerk or anything. We're so worried that he's not going to see Aunt Deb, because it's Look Down Deb, because we're so close to the stage. I mean, that sounds absolute,
that's first world problems.
That's so shit to say, but that's what we were worried about. And I told you, listen,
I'm so short, and if you don't look down, you're never see me.
And the problem with it is unless you look straight down over his gut, hid behind his Takamine guitar, there's so many obstacles that he's got to go over to see you by looking straight down. But I told you that no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was always able to find a way to get Garth's attention when we were together. The fishing in the dark, thanks for the Funkos.
Yep.
The July 8th where we fist bumped and he saw you. There was no doubt I was going to do whatever it took to make sure that he saw us. And somehow,
at the Jimmy Kimmel show, you got him to see us there. Yep.
Exactly. So I knew that there was going to be a way. I just figured out, okay, we're going to have an amazing show. Something special is going to happen. I have between now and the time that he walks off stage to make and then it happened in the first song.
He comes
out and he comes walking over and, I'm Garth, this, that, everything. And he's like, oh, and then all of a sudden he sees me and I'm pointing down, look down, Deb. And he looks down and he sees you. And for the first time out of all of this, the request one-on-one, all the Ask Garths on the Inside Studio G, he looks down, he sees you, and there it was. The fist pump with Deb.
The fist bump.
I'm telling you. And then he reached over and fist bumped me, and the rest of the night, I mean, it was amazing. But that was it. You got it.
We could have walked out of the show that night and been
Thanks,
happy.
Garth. See you next time. Yep.
I got one fist bump. You got 3, right?
Yeah.
He fist bumped you 3 times.
And he kept the harder to get. I was like, well, listen, if we're gonna play Bloody Knuckles, let's go, big guy. Let's do it. But yeah, it was awesome. We just and then amazing. I can't. So happy. And I just remember how emotional you got. Like that was it. You started crying.
Yep.
And that was it. And the rest of the night, I think that like you said, no matter what had happened in that show, and by all means, that was. There's so much more we're going to talk about, or we could talk about. Nothing will top that. Like that was it. Like,
there was one moment that came close. Okay, so I feel bad even to this day because now I'm going to jump to the very end of the show. The show is over. We're walking out. We're still flying high as a kite because we got those fist bumps way back at the beginning of the show. But we walk out. We get our phones unlocked.
Yeah.
So now, mind you, we haven't had our phones in our hands for well over 3 hours because we got there early and then the show time. So we've been without our phones all this time, right? We all have our phones all the time, but there I am, no phone. So we get our phones unlocked. I get my phone handed back. Pete and I are walking out and it suddenly dawns on me, hey, his photographer puts pictures up really, really quickly from the show. Like they go up there really fast. And so what do? As we're walking out, we're fighting the crowd. Pete's leading the way. I immediately go to the photo site and I pick that night's show and the pictures were already up. Like the photographer had nailed them. They were already there.
Boom.
So I start looking and I want to say it's the 3rd or the 4th picture. And it is a picture of Garth standing over me, playing his guitar. And I don't know at that moment yet if we had fist bumped yet or not. I don't think so, because I think that happened. And then he, fist bumped Pete and then walked to the center of the stage. But there it is. It's a picture. You can see me standing below Garth. You can see Pete standing behind me. And what do? I instantly lose it. And I start crying. Yeah. And poor Pete thinks all he sees is I've just gotten my phone back and I'm crying. So I'm certain in your head, you're thinking something horrible just happened.
I'm like, what happened? Who texted you? Because usually, you get your text, you go through, you check your text or whatever. You don't just jump on social media or you look for the picture or whatever the case is. And then when you showed it to me, I was like, oh my God, it was the lighting. It's
perfect.
I'm in the back. It's perfect. It's freaking perfect. It is the greatest photo. And it's kind of cool. Like I was proud about it because you can see if you zoom in, you see our Garthology shirt that I was wearing. But which was cool because on the Big Tron, it was on a lot that night. They kept seeing Garthology. But away from that, the picture of you and Garth, just the lighting, the way that he's over, everything is kind of like blacked out, and like you could see some of the silhouettes of the pictures, but your face and then me behind it and the shirt, like it was meant to be. When you say something truly special is going to happen that night, that truly special thing happened flawlessly.
Right.
The fist bumps, the photo.
Everything in that moment. That 1.5 minutes was perfection. And I swear, if you look at my face in that picture, I think I'm radiating more happiness in that picture than, God bless my husband, but more than I did on my wedding day.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like we don't know what's next for Garth Brooks, and we don't know what he's going to do. But we do know one thing: that whatever that is, if there is anything, you and I will do anything that we can to try to be there and be a part of it.
Yep.
And no matter how lucky we get, if something happens, with good seats or location or whatever may happen with this podcast, it's going to be really hard to top the fist bump between the three of us, and that photo. I don't know how you can capture a better moment when it comes to us and Garth Brooks than that right there. I really, unless he sits down and does an interview on this podcast with us, I don't know how we top it. I really don't know how we top it.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
So, all of that to say, now let's go back to the show. Yeah. So now we're going backwards in time. So the show had ended, but now we're going back into it. So another thing I wanted to bring up was Trisha, because, I mean, every night that she performed, and she performed at every one of the residency shows that I attended, she always looked fabulous. She always looked fabulous. But that last night, like, she was stunning. And her voice was perfection. Yep. And when they sang Shallow, I swear to goodness, the crowd just lost their minds. Like, it still gives me chills thinking about it because they just were, oh my gosh, they were so connected. They just radiated from that stage. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. We are both huge fans of Trisha, and we've seen her at all these shows. We've seen her in the arena and the world tour shows and stadium shows and things like that. And we always say that she comes out and she looks great and she sounds great. In the Colosseum at Caesars, that's a very, very special venue. And now with Trisha going out and doing her things where she brings the audience in and there's smaller venues and stuff, I can see why she does it, because when she walks on stage, her appearance, for one, she is drop dead gorgeous. And I know a lot of people have, mentioned, obviously she's lost some weight and so on and so forth. And every time that we've seen her come along on these 72 shows, when people say that, certain people age better, like fine wine or whatever the case is, Trisha is the epitome of that. She is doing that. And the way that they sounded together, it was almost like they were singing together for the last time.
Yeah.
They didn't miss a beat, especially in Shallow. And the way that they laugh and they joke and they just bounce off of one another. Sure, some of the stuff they say is repetitive from other shows that we've seen before. Oh, you're so big and strong and handsome. But it just becomes so natural to them, and it just brings everybody right into the palm of their hand. And I think that that's a special talent between the two of them. Just amazing. We've got to see her at the iHeart radio thing where she released some new music there, and we thought that was great. We were super close by, but I'm telling you, there was something about these 72 shows and Garth and Trisha, his plus one at the Colosseum, that I don't, whatever's next, I don't know how they top what we just witnessed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't either. And another thing we talked about this weekend was how much we're going to miss the surprises, because Garth, granted, he had a set list. I mean, he joked about there's no set list. There was pretty much a standard set of songs that he would play, but he always threw in different ones. At the beginning, when he was tuning up, you were never sure what you were going to get. It just, every single time, it just felt like he was curating a show just for that audience. Like, he knew what that audience would react to. And that was really, really evident, obviously, during the song request, because it's what people there wanted to hear. But one person could request it, but then the whole place would lose their minds over it.
Because everybody could agree with the song that was being requested. They could have given, 50% of the people there a piece of paper and said, request a song. And there could have been 50% of the audience with different song requests. But all in all, every 100% of the people in there would be okay with whatever song request came out and whatever he decided to sing. The stories that led up to the song request were what made them special. Like, I remember that night, there was a girl that was there, and she had requested If Tomorrow Never Comes. And then all of a sudden, Garth is like, oh, shit. And he goes, don't you know this is a family song or something, or a family show or something like that? And apparently he had asked, like, if they were still married, and she said no. And he said, well, there's stuff, but she still loved the song. And he said, well, sometimes the music just outlasts everything else, or he made some comment or something like that. And he said, well, F it, let's just do it. And he sang her the song. And like, that was amazing. And then another song that I don't ever, and I've been to a lot of Garth shows, a lot. I've been very, very fortunate to see him with you, and you made a lot of that happen. I don't ever remember him singing All American Kid.
No, I don't think so.
There was a guy that was there, and he was a veteran, and he had requested the song, and Garth's like, yeah, and I remember he played that song. And there wasn't a quiet voice in the audience. There was a bunch of tears at the end of it. And I just remembered, I'm not going to get into the whole, but there's a lot of things going on in our world, but something there in that room, every single person at the end was chanting USA, USA. It went crazy. Like, it was just wild. Everybody at a Garth show, everybody knows that if they're going to be a Garth fan, you got to love Garth fan. You got to love one another. And everybody gets along and everybody's happy. But there's just something about these requests that just make you hug your neighbor next to you at the show a little tighter, high five them a little harder, or whatever, dance with them a little bit more. It's just a very, very special thing. And again, we've seen it all at these big, big venues that Garth has done. There's just something a little more special about him being done at Caesars in that small Colosseum. Like, that was perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
It sure was. I think, well, and you said it right earlier. I don't think we'll ever experience anything like this residency again.
No.
Just like you said, the intimacy of the Colosseum, the way Garth told the stories that he told, but then also taking those request stories and adding to them, pulling things out of the audience, making jokes. He was just being himself, but he did it in such a way that we all laughed together. We all cried together. It felt like we were all friends, not just people in a crowd together seeing a concert.
Sure.
Like we said, without having the phones, we got to know the people around us so much more than we ever had before. So that added to that intimacy. And I think all of us that attended these residency shows, we're just going to carry this with us forever.
Yeah, and you just saying that, like, our neighbors that were sitting behind us, they were an older couple, and they had come in and they were wearing these really, really cool
cowboy hats. Yes.
And now all of a sudden, next thing I know, one gets on stage and it goes through the other stage. And
yeah.
Next thing I know, Robert Bailey's wearing a cowboy hat. Garth comes out and he goes, "What is going, Robert? Are you wearing a cowboy?" And he did that whole shout thing, and that went on forever. And we screamed and we laughed, and then they never got their cowboy hat back.
They didn't.
I don't know what happened, but you know what? You do something like that, you wear it, and that is something that couple will never, ever, ever forget. Ever forget. They'll never forget it. And like you said, it's just, we walked in strangers. It seems like we left all best friends. Like, it really, really did seem that way.
Because we had all experienced something together that only those of us in that room experienced. There's no videos that, could go out about it. Nobody else can dampen for us what we experienced.
Yeah.
Because we were there in the room. We were in the room when it happened.
And, that's another thing, bring it up, like another thing that we could talk about on one of the other shows that we went to, Neon Neighborhood. You and I will forever be able to say that we are actually on the studio recorded, or on the recorded song for Neon Neighborhood.
Yep.
And just whoever was in that room that night, period, the end. Nobody else could say that, yes, we were there. And he said, let's record it. It took us one take to do it. And that was the one that they guaranteed and promised was on that record. And now when we sing that song forever, we are part of that song. We'll always be in that song. That's crazy, these things that happen at the Colosseum.
Yep.
Even if he did another residency, again, it's its own entity, right? It's its own thing at the Colosseum. If he chose to do another residency in Nashville or whatever it is, a smaller venue deal like that, it would take a lot to beat these. Period, the end.
It's a moment in time that just can't be repeated.
Right, can't be repeated.
There could be another one, and great, we'll go to those too. But this moment in time, this residency, nope, that's it.
Yep, not a chance. And it's, like you said, it can't be repeated. It wasn't scripted. It was all natural, all love, and that's it. Period. The end.
Yeah. All right. I think that's the perfect place to end this episode. So for those of you who were also lucky like we were and were able to be at that final night of the residency, you know. It's literally the saying, if you know, you know. And for those who weren't, I'm sad for you, but we do hope that this episode brought a little bit of that magic to you. And hey, Garth may have wrapped up in Vegas, but something tells me he's not done surprising us yet. So stick around. Have you checked out our website at garthology.com yet? If not, stop by today and check out all of our past episodes. And remember to hit subscribe to our podcast on your podcast platform of choice. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, please run over there, hit that 5-star button if you like what you hear, and then write up a quick review just to encourage others to listen. Then be sure and share us with everyone you know. That way you can help your friends in low places become Garthologists too.
Yeah, and talking about friends in low places, we are on social media. So if you guys are and you would like to interact with us, you can find us at facebook.com/GarthologyCast. Or if you guys are on Instagram or Twitter, Threads, or TikTok, we are at GarthologyCast there. So please continue to like, tweet, retweet, share, direct message us, whatever it may be, any way you guys want to get a hold of us. If you have anything to say about this last show in Vegas or anything that may have happened in any of the shows that you were lucky enough to attend, hit us up in the direct messages and we'll talk about it. But thank you for the support.
Don't forget, new episodes of Garthology come out on the 7th, 17th, and 27th of each month. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Garthology. And I'm Deb.
I'm Pete. And for Jess, her and I both say, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. And remember, love will always win.
Bloopers.
Break the microphone right before we start.
Bam.
Hold on just a second. I just had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
I just had to do the same thing.
It's funny. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. Oops.
I was like, yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for joining it. Nope, it's gone.
I'm Pete.
And I'll see you. I don't know what to say without Jess. It's
I was
all
like,
thrown
come
out
on,
of
Jess.
whack.
Yeah, shit. All right.